Shahina, we mentioned there just the academic side of things, but of course there are other challenges as well that you know, parents and the children might face at school, isn't there? Can you talk us through some of those?
You can imagine in the school playground, even for a normal child, even in primary school you have bullying that happens. So can you imagine with a child with learning difficulties, or is a hyper, or doesn't understand when other children are maybe saying, you know, making jokes, and being amongst kids who themselves are not exactly adults, so you can't really expect them to have that empathy and understanding. You can imagine in a playground scenario, isn't it? And that must be so worrying for parents. You worry for your normal child to go to school and to be in the playground, considering how, you know, society is today. But one of the things during my research I found that is the intolerance and the isolation that it leads to. The isolation, you know, at a time when the child needs that support and comfort. This must be one of the challenges. I mean, I don't know, did you find that?
I think with playgrounds, when a child isn't able to express themselves properly, they would probably go and punch somebody or pull them or tug them, and they would think it's just playing. But in fact, it's just the way that they're expressing themselves. But to another child, it will look as he's being physically assaulting me. Sure. So that can be really, really hard. And it's just understanding social situations where the sister said they don't like change, and a lot of children with autism don't like their environments changing, and when it does, it's very difficult for them to deal with. And of course, everyday school situations, the day changes, you know, for any child, but I think it's the behaviour issue that can be quite difficult, and it's just really understanding. Yes, they need to understand, and I'm sure that system is in place in most schools.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools do have that system in place, and I know, you know, it's not just about the schools, it's kind of the day-to-day things where sometimes there might be some difficulty there. I mean, Sister Zainab, even just getting out and about can be quite difficult for some parents.
It can be very tricky, but then there are so many things, so much, again, advice out there about how to deal with these different issues. There's so many different scenarios, I thought I'll just kind of tackle a couple. So the dentist, doctor, like, those kind of trips can be filled with a lot of anxiety for both parent and child at the end of the day. I think from the research I was doing, sometimes there's a lack of understanding of why they even need to go to the dentist, why they need to be touched, why they even need to, you know, what's the use of having, you know, healthy teeth and gums and things like that. You know, all of these kind of issues, even something as the sounds of the machinery that may be used, or even the fragrance and the clothes the doctor or the dentist may be wearing can be quite distressing for the child. So there are so many strategies that you can actually use in order to get through these kind of situations. Number one is always preparation. So as early as you can, getting them used to the fact that they're going to go to this place, why they need to be going, using like visual things like calendars in order to kind of prepare them for this upcoming day. You know, for first-time trips as well, taking them beforehand, introducing the dentist or the doctor to the child so that they can, you know, understand, you know, this guy, who is he, what does he do, and even the machinery or the things that might be used, so they can kind of get used to that idea and the need of it.
Can I just add, you know, some children don't understand what later is. You know, if you ask them, right, we're going to do this after lunch, or we're going to do this tomorrow, it's very hard for them to visualise that. It's always then and now. So I think that for some children that can be quite difficult.
Quite tricky, absolutely.
Yes.
So it's even those kind of concepts that we really have to be, you know, getting back to basics and understanding ourselves before we even have these kinds of discussions. I mean, you know, as with every discussion, of course, we know that we have to come back to the kind of the care that we can be giving, and of course, we know that our Dean says a lot about this. Sister Shahina, can you touch on this for us, inshallah?
You know, just before I go into the whole, you know, usually we talk about having patience, qadr of Allah. There's this sister who recently that I know went to hospital, and her daughter required this minor surgery, but she was sitting with another sister who was a mother, and she had her daughter was she's completely disabled, even in terms of consciousness is very little there, so the mother doesn't really even get to communicate for her. So, but for the rest of her life, she has to do everything for her. But she looks really calm and tranquil. And my friend asked her, what gets you through? You look really tranquil, mashallah. And what the sister said in response was, I have hope that in Jannah, Allah will give me a beautiful daughter. SubhanAllah. Mashallah, I think It's quite emotional to hear something like that. But I think that in itself is something inspiring to take away. And then, of course, in Islam, Allah says, even if you have a prick of a thorn, there is a reward in it. So can you imagine a test like that, what reward Allah must have in place? Because sometimes Allah has plans and you have plans, but Allah is the best of planners. Absolutely. And it might be that, we say Allah tests those that He loves, and there must be something that Allah wants to give you that is better for you.
Definitely, absolutely. Sister Zainab, very briefly, anything to add to what Sister Shahina said? I mean, there's a lot that we know about this patience, and of course, Qadr of Allah, that's another one.
There's so many things that we don't control, that we don't even realise we don't control, but yet we take the fault and the blame upon ourselves, which is a real shame. At the end of the day, after any of our actions, the result is always from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and never to have worry about that whatever happens it is from Him, and it's a test or an experience that He wishes us to go through. It's neither good or bad. I think that's actually a really important thing to remember whenever we go through these tests. But the beautiful hadith that the sister began to mention is no tiredness, exhaustion, worry, grief, distress, or harm befalls the believer in this world. Not even the thorn that pricks him, but Allah expiates some sins thereby. Just to, subhanAllah, we're accumulating that reward and for that eternity with our child, and all that worry and that grief will be removed from us then. So absolutely. Just to focus on that.
I mean, Sister Shahida, just finally, some take-home messages for the sisters out there. What would be your final advice to any parents out there?
I think the most important thing to remember that autistic children aren't stupid. That's a common label given to most children. It's being patient, making dua, and just finding out more information about it. The more you learn, the more you educate yourself, you'll be able to help your child more. If you don't know enough, you're going to find it very difficult to deal with. So it's just...
And I think also, just even generally, the extended family as well, it would be interesting to have that open discussion with them so that they could ask any questions to you once you've had that information to hand, so that the extended family is also very aware of the situation and they can lend a little bit more support too. Sister Shahina, your final kind of take-home message for the sisters, inshallah.
I think I would say keep yourself as well in good company, because you yourself need re-energizing. Have friends around you. You'll naturally, regardless of, we understand we have to be patient, but we still have downtimes, isn't it? So be amongst people who will give you that boost and energy and comfort, inshallah. And also, if you have a network or family around you, accept their help when they're giving you. Don't feel that you have to do it all by yourself.
You don't need to be a superwoman.
Absolutely.
Alhamdulillah. Sister Zainab.
I reiterate much of what the sister was saying. Access those nuggets of information out there, those websites, the parent support groups, because there's nothing like someone who's going through the same thing that you're going through and being advised by them, and even being able to offload to them as well. So just utilise everything that is out there. Knowledge is crucial,
absolutely.
really.
And there's a lot of information out there. I think that is accessible. Absolutely. I think we've got a kind of a growing resource now, not only online, but we know the schools are getting more clued up about this, the teachers are. And inshallah, we as a community are also increasing our awareness in this subject. So Jazakallah khair, sisters, for that really interesting discussion. We know whether we're directly affected by trials of others in our ummah or not, it's our responsibility to care for those around us as we would our own families. We should strive as a community to help those in need as a reflection of a true Islamic character, but also as an action which may save us in the next life. If we spend our lives meeting the needs of those in difficulty, then inshallah we will receive Allah's help on the most difficult of days when we are accounted. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever meets the needs of his brother, Allah will meet his needs, and that's from Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Well, it's always great to end a discussion with a reminder, but what do you think about this issue? We'd love to hear from you and your comments. You can email us womensam@islamchannel.tv, or you can contact us via Islam Channel's Facebook page, or of course tweet us at Islam Channel, #womensam. We're off to another break now. Stay tuned. We'll be back with our last segment where we take a look at the life of an inspirational person and draw some lessons from them. So stay tuned, we'll see you shortly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Or call 0207 377 6677.
है मेरी ये दुआ, है मेरी ये दुआ हो